Hey, how's it going, guys? I'm DJ at McCrea, Drumkit ENT, and today we're gonna do a quick review. So smash that like button if you like quick reviews. So I've already covered the freeware version of the MJUC, which is the MJUC Junior, which is basically what it looks like in a nutshell. Would be this, if you go into the playlist and check out, free download Fridays, you'll see that, and just subtle differences, but it functions basically the same with some added features on top of that. And I have a track pulled up and whatnot. I'm gonna play it in a second, but I'm just gonna walk through some of the subtle differences between this version and the freeware version. The freeware version does not have the other two compressors, which this is kind of like, it kind of gauges itself off of like yesteryear sound up to the modern day sound. So this would basically be the 70s and 80s. This would be kind of like modern day right here. As far as modern day compression, you see different, it gets a little complex. And, then your simple, old school kind of Teletronics 2A or, the 1176 style compressor. And, it's pretty cool. Very easy to use. I mean, you have compress, makeup, and then, you really don't really have to work with anything else. If you open up this, the drop down menu and whatnot, let me go ahead and do that again, and you'll have some cool stuff here as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and just play the track 3 2 1. So it's coming in loud. So one of the things I really do like about stuff like this, like vintage style, flavored, harmonic, saturated, like compressors, is that I actually like my tracks to actually have that type of feel in it and have that kind of that punch as well, which is something that everybody's akin to. And on top of that, it's kind of different from being sonically neutral when we use such a compressor as like an ozone or something like that. But going from a basic standpoint, I'm gonna go ahead and dial that down, and that's pretty much where it's at before I dial it in. So if I actually dial up the compression, you can actually hear how dense it is. So you actually have to make it up, and the best way to make up gain is to actually follow the way it is right here. So go ahead and roll off something real quick. We'll just roll off the compression a little bit. Took a bit of the makeup off because it's well in the red as far as the kick drum goes. That could be a little bit too intense for most people, especially on YouTube. But the quality should be there despite YouTube compressing down the actual file, because I actually set everything to its highest settings, including me right now. But yeah. One thing I would like to say, if I haven't said it, is it does have parallel compression, but this whole entire set or whatnot, it does, once again, it does have different settings to where you can actually kind of hear, and let's see if you can actually hear any differences between the MK1, the MK2, and the MK3. I'm gonna turn on the compression, of course. You definitely hear the change in that. It actually sounds a little better from my engineering standpoint. I know that's subjective, what is better, so, you know. Didn't really notice the difference, but I wasn't listening to it, so I'm going to go back to MK2, MK1, then go to MK3. So the third version is definitely the cleanest. You know, you don't hear any extra harmonics being piled up or on your frequencies or something like that. Much like how the old school like tube compressors would do. So the style is much cleaner, and then you guys can see the some of the options have changed. So you got high ratio. What I like about this one is that you can actually change the, you know, different things about the punch, and then you actually can change the attack, and it actually lays it out to where you know it's fast, like the compression is hitting faster, and then, you know, if you bring it all the way to the right, bring the parameter all the way to the right, it's slower, so it will be, the compression will be moving slower, as well as the VU visual cue there, you know, in an old school manner. I know this loop is getting on people's nerves. It's a little bit more to it, but you know. But that's why I started off with on that track, just in case people are wondering. There's a lot more coming to that track as well. And, you know, but that's basically about it. So, you know, if you like this video, give it a like. If you have any comments or questions, please ask. I mean, feel free. I really do like this compressor a lot. And the most impressive thing about it is that it's only $25. And so it's very affordable for everybody. And that is exactly how, you know, stuff like this should be. You know, it shouldn't be out of you shouldn't have to sit at a certain price bracket as a person to afford to do good music and get good quality. I personally think that, and there's plenty of free stuff that actually allows that as well. But you know, check out my playlist. And speaking of free stuff, check out my playlist for free download Fridays. There's a whole bunch of good stuff on there, you know, and then I have other affordable things as well. So, you know, I'm DJ Av. You know, hopefully you liked the track. It wasn't too strange or out of your musical taste, but have a nice day.